At this point, being skeptical about the Elder Scrolls 6 is very reasonable. I mean, Bethesda gave us a lot of reasons why we should feel this way. However, I think there's a big difference between skepticism and cynicism, and today I want to talk about it specifically regarding some of the past comments that I got on my past Elder Scrolls video, and why I think they are pretty damaging to the overall conversation around the Elder Scrolls 6, and how I actually think we should discuss things like this. So what's the difference between skepticism and cynicism? Well, the way I see it is that skepticism is when you question something based on evidence. So it's that feeling where you basically are not sure about something, you're not convinced until you see reasons to be convinced. So, for example, you're not convinced that The Elder Scrolls 6 is going to be the game of the generation until you actually see it, which I think is the correct way to think about things. And then, on the other hand, there's cynicism, which is essentially taking the worst case scenario and assuming that it's going to be reality. So a very good example of that is when people say The Elder Scrolls 6 is going to be the worst game ever, Bethesda sucks, it's going to flop. And I think as time goes on and as we get further and further away from the release of Skyrim, which was 15 years ago at this point, almost. We're going to have the 15-year anniversary this year, which is crazy to think about. I think we're moving more and more towards cynicism, especially when we're considering Starfield and Fallout 76 and everything that's come out after Skyrim. So let's go into some reasons why I think it's totally natural and totally good to question Bethesda's capability of making the best version of the Elder Scrolls 6. Number one, a lot of key talent left Bethesda. So that includes people like Will Shen, Bruce Nesmith, even Pete Hines at this point. I mean, he was the VP of marketing for the longest time, and then the acquisition of Microsoft happened and he left. And he was a very good point of communication between Bethesda and the fans. And then since he left, I personally felt the disconnect between the company and the people playing the games. But a general point is that the team that's going to be making the Elder Scrolls 6 is going to be vastly different than the team that was making Skyrim back in the day. It's also a lot bigger than what it used to be, which also includes a lot of levels of management. And we actually talked about that a little bit in the past with Xbox and the layoffs and all the Xbox reset situation that's going on. And Bethesda is part of that. While they grew as a company, and that's typically seen as a good thing within an industry, there's going to be a lot more disconnect between the visions of the people making the game, which might feel a little disjointed, and that might have resulted, well, actually it was part of why Starfield itself as a game felt a little disjointed. And it is natural to assume that the Elder Scrolls 6 is going to have something similar. Another reason why you should feel skeptical about Bethesda is the recent track record. So if we consider the Fallout 76 launch, which was a disaster, the mixed reception that Starfield received, so some people did like it a lot, but the general discussion around it is that it was a massively disappointing game. But to me, what actually kind of convinced me to question Bethesda a little more is how they responded to all the criticisms surrounding Starfield. If you guys remember, there's a lot of Steam reviews that were saying that Starfield is a boring game. There's not much exploration going on. And then the Bethesda representative actually responded that like astronauts went to the moon and then they weren't bored when they went there. So Starfield is not a boring game because of that, even though there's nothing to explore. So that was one example that I'm thinking of. Another one that I'm thinking about is when the Shattered Space DLC came out and Emil Pagliarulo went on record to say that Starfield in many ways is one of the best games they've ever made and they're really proud. So people don't really understand how difficult it is to make games and all that. And while some of it is true, it doesn't mean you're immune to any type of criticism. And I was one of the ones that didn't really like the Shattered Space expansion. I thought it was very short, disappointing, and personally the writing was in my opinion, the worst thing about that DLC there. And that's a problem that Starfield as a whole, in my opinion, had. There have also been obviously technical issues, lack of RPG mechanics, and that includes choice and consequence. If we compare it, for example, with games like Fallout New Vegas, which has a lot of choice and consequence, it's really night and day. So considering all of that, I do think that they deserve to be criticized and to be questioned about their capability of making the greatest RPG of all time. But there is a difference between questioning them and just completely outright saying that they're the worst team ever and that the game is gonna flop no matter what. So, the main actual difference about skepticism and cynicism is that the skeptic can actually be convinced otherwise. A cynic is someone that, no matter what evidence is presented to them, they will not change their mind and they will still try to convince other people that they're the ones that are in the right. Some example of cynicism topics that are floating around the Bethesda part of the internet, I guess, is that number one, Emil Pagliarulo is a terrible writer no matter what. So he actually got on record. He made that one like paper airplane thing. If you don't know, they basically said that you could write the best next American novel and it could be like the best book ever written. And then the players, what they're gonna do is that they're gonna take that book, tear the pages apart, make paper airplanes, and just like throw them around the room. So basically, what people took from that conference is that he doesn't really put a lot of effort into writing and the narrative of his games because the players are just gonna make paper airplanes out of it anyway. They're not really gonna care, and that's not the main part of the game, which a lot of people disagreed with, myself included. He's also the one that basically explained the KISS principle, which I actually learned about in school as well. I went to school for marketing, and in my business communication class, they basically taught us about the keep it simple, stupid thing. He's not calling you stupid. The KISS principle is a thing that existed way before him. So it's not like he's insulting the players by saying that necessarily. But what that means is that you're trying to keep everything simple for even the stupid people to understand, right? And if you do that, that actually makes the product a lot more consumer friendly and a lot more accessible to a wider part of the population, which I'm honestly not that much against about, because I do want these most games to be accessible and to be understood by a lot of people, but I do want the themes of the games to be quite deep and to spark conversation, which is what that paper airplane thing didn't really convince me that that's going to be the case in his next few games. At least in the games that he's going to write. But on the other side, to give him credit, he's been at Bethesda for decades at this point. He's actually the one that came up with the dragon language in Skyrim, which was actually very cool. It was a very cool concept and very revolutionary. It kind of put like Skyrim on the map for many people, where you took the theme that was in Morrowind and Oblivion, and then you basically put lyrics to it in dragon language, and it made the iconic dragon song, Dragonborn theme. Probably what made Skyrim so popular. One of the reasons why Skyrim was so popular back in the day. So he is Todd's right-hand man, and when he tries, he can actually do something. But he's put in a position right now where basically, no matter what he does, he's going to be praised for within the company. There's this culture of like toxic positivity within Bethesda. It's within the gaming industry as a whole, it seems, but Bethesda specifically, where every idea, no matter how lame or how whatever, is going to be praised within the company, even though the players are not necessarily gonna react to it the same way. There's this other example about Will Shen, who was previously at the company and left right after Starfield was released, where he was criticized by actually Emil Pagliarulo about his work not being like up to par or I don't know, revolutionary enough. And what that resulted in is he stopped thinking inside of the Bethesda box. He stopped thinking like a normal Bethesda employee and really tried to make something special out of it and something unique. And he was put in this corner where everything he was working on, he really needed to improve, up to the point where he was actually given the task to create Skyrim's iconic opening at Helgen. So, you know, the hey, you're finally awake meme that's going around right now, even. Yeah, well, he was in charge of creating, well, basically designing that quest, and he was actually the one that created the story of the Far Harbor DLC as well. So, when really pushed at their limits, Bethesda employees, this, for example, is someone that left Bethesda, but it could happen to anyone, including Emil, including the junior developers at Bethesda right now. When put into a corner and really challenged to make the best work possible, it is possible to do that sort of thing. Now, it is a big shame that they lost Will Shen and other developers that were up to his level, but it puts into perspective the idea of challenge and how important it is to just be better than what you previously were. Now, why am I saying all of this? I am hopeful. I am hopeful that they're going to see the criticism and they're going to be taking it into heart and actually try to make something out of it. Do their past actions prove that that's going to happen? No, but there is a possibility that that's going to happen, or at the very least, that some of it is going to happen and it's going to be a little better than what it is right now. So until I see that they haven't done so, I'm not going to discredit The Elder Scrolls 6 just yet. Another reason why people are cynical about Bethesda as a whole is that they're saying that the creation engine is just an outdated dinosaur of an engine and they don't really understand what it can actually do. Every engine has their limitations. For the creation engine specifically, graphics could be a limitation, or the fact that you need loading screens to move between areas. But some good things that it has is the physics engine and what is that called? Object permanence, where you basically could store your cheese wheels in a house, and when you come back to the house, they're going to be placed in the same position that you already placed them. Which for some people is not a very important thing, but to me and to other players like me, it does add to that immersion and that sandbox feeling that Bethesda games have. If used well, the creation engine can be powerful. There have been mods that prove that over and over again. And in many ways, Starfield was not as bad as people are saying. The problem with Starfield is mainly the whole concept of multiple planets, because you would have to open your map to fast travel from one planet to another on one location of a planet to another location on the same planet. So there's a lot of fast traveling going around there, and then you have to go on your ship, off your ship. It's kind of a mess there. But in an open world setting where you have one main map and then multiple interiors here and there, it's not that bad. If you take into consideration just the area around New Atlantis, for example, New Atlantis itself doesn't have as many loading screens as people are saying. A bad example of how it's utilized is the elevator to go to your penthouse, where basically your penthouse is in the same world space as the rest of the city, but in order to access it, you have to go to an elevator, click a button, the screen goes black, and then you get teleported upstairs. If they were able to do something better, for example, make the elevator actually go up instead of going to a black screen, that's already an improvement there, and it would feel less like the creation engine was holding them back. The problem with Bethesda during the Starfield development was that they didn't really think that was a limitation. They actually thought that it would be an easy way to design a game around fast traveling and around the loading screens, and the game itself was going to be good enough that people wouldn't even notice. But we did notice, and they do know now that people's main problem with Starfield was the loading screens. And if I am to be realistic, I do think that The Elder Scrolls 6 is going to feel less disjointed and it's going to have less loading screens just because of how the game is going to be designed. It's not going to be on multiple planets. It's one main open world with interior cells here and there. One other thing I wanted to take a look at is my main channel, which if you don't know, I have a main channel on which I showcase Skyrim mods. I had a poll that where I asked people how they are feeling about The Elder Scrolls 6 Sentinel now that Asha Sharma basically decided to open up about it and the discussion started rolling. 35% of people said that they're excited to see more and 21% are neutral. And I consider neutral to be somewhat positive because since I'm asking Skyrim players mainly, neutral is more positive than negative since they are still playing that game in 2026. But there are 31% that are a little worried and 14% saying that the game will suck 100%. So this is the cynics that I was talking about earlier. The 31% that are being cautious or a little worried about the game, those are the skeptics. So it does seem like the skeptics are higher than the cynics, at least if you're asking Skyrim players, existing Bethesda fans who are a little more involved in the conversation than a typical casual player that is playing the games and not really engaging with the conversations online. What I'm trying to say here is that the dominant people are not necessarily saying that it's gonna suck, Bethesda is a horrible company, and we hate Todd Howard. I'm just saying that the ones that do are extremely loud, and we can hear them from across the open world of Skyrim. I don't even know, that was a horrible analogy. Let's just cut that from the video. So it appears that a lot more people are more open-minded, kind of like in the same boat that I am. However, given the loudness of the super cynical type, those people are kind of getting silenced. But I think it's important that even when you think that the worst is going to happen, you look at the positives. And in every situation, there's going to be a positive. So let's actually take some time to look at a few positives and a few reasons why you should maybe look forward to hearing more about the Elder Scrolls 6. Number one, there's better communication overall. So for the past few years, Bethesda's been super silent. If we look at the Fallout 4 Anniversary Edition, it took 18 months to basically fix that stupid update that they had. We went 18 months without hearing anything about it, without actually getting an acknowledgement from Bethesda. But now they actually started talking to us a lot more. Probably because Todd Howard is pushed into a corner by Asha. So you see, when people are put into a corner and actually asked or forced to be better and to do things a better way, they can actually do it. If you don't know, at the beginning of this month, I think, or maybe in July, I don't remember, sometime this year, they actually opened up about the Fallout remasters, and they confirmed that the Elder Scrolls 6 is being worked on full development, and that Fallout 5 is actually in pre-development, and that they're having this collaboration with Obsidian about making a whole new Fallout game. So that whole thing, Bethesda of the past would have never revealed any of that information to us so early on, especially. Another example of communication that they've had is Todd Howard saying that they're actually going to try to fix Obsidian. Sorry, I always mix those two words up, man. Oblivion Remaster. So we haven't heard anything about the Oblivion Remaster since basically the first patch that it had, where it fixed some issues, but it still left a lot of the big ones out in the open. But they did confirm that a lot of the fixes are going to come soon. So there is communication there, and that's honestly really great. And I do want to congratulate Bethesda for letting go of their pride a little bit, even though it probably wasn't their choice to begin with. Another reason is that Bethesda is returning to their roots with the Elder Scrolls 6. Fallout 76 was an online game and it was kind of a mess, not gonna lie. Starfield was an open universe kind of game where you would be able to go from planet to planet, which allowed a lot of loading screen fiasco going on. But anyway, Bethesda is returning to a one open world design with the Elder Scrolls 6, which is honestly pretty good. We haven't seen the Elder Scrolls in action fully since Skyrim. Yes, there's ESO, but that again is an online game, very different, and is not running on the same engine. It's still exciting to visit a world that we haven't seen in so long. Even in the worst case scenario where the game's gonna suck, I still think that it's exciting to visit a world that we haven't seen in over 15 years. And finally, the fact that they're within Microsoft now and within Xbox. Now, usually I would see this as a negative thing because, as we've seen, it's a lot more corporate now. Pete Hines actually went on record to say that it doesn't feel like the same company anymore. And we can tell that with their products as well. But them being within the Xbox ecosystem now with open communication and more competition, now that we've seen that they're having this collaboration with Obsidian Entertainment with this new Fallout game that they're working on, we can actually have more competition for the same IP, which is interesting because if Obsidian makes another great Fallout game that is better than what Fallout 5 is going to be, that's going to put even more pressure on Bethesda, and it's going to push them into a corner a lot more to be more competitive and to actually be forced to innovate, which is pretty exciting, honestly. While it probably sucks for Todd, it sucks for Todd's pride, and it sucks for Emil because he's actually going to have to force himself to write a good story. I think it's a pretty good thing. I don't know. Maybe I'm just being hopeful in this situation, but I'm happy that Obsidian is getting a try. Even if that game is going to suck, honestly, I don't think it will. But even if it will, I still think that's a net positive for Bethesda because it does promote competition. And so, what is my position on this whole subject? Well, as you probably can tell, I am still leaning towards the positive because I do see a big potential there. There was a big potential with Starfield. There was not really a big potential with Fallout 76, but there was a big potential with Starfield. They fumbled that, but it doesn't mean that they're going to fumble whatever's going to come next. I do want to see the game before I completely discredit it. I want to see what it looks like. I want to play it and see what it feels like. I want to see what the mod community is going to create with it. So I say let's look at some comments. So let's move the discussion away from me and bring in some other people and see what they're thinking about. So these are comments that I took from my last few videos on the Elder Scrolls 6 and what I think about it, basically. So I wanted to take some examples of cynicism within the comments and just discuss them here. So this person says, anyone at this point who still believes in Bethesda and the Elder Scrolls is a delusional Bethesda / Todd Howard sycophant. This person has already made up their mind, right? They're trying to say that I'm delusional and anything because I still somewhat have a belief that it could still be a good game. But yeah, there's no argument there. There's no explanation on why I would be a delusional. It's just the fact that I'm delusional. This person says, don't know who you're kidding. The game will be garbage and everyone will still buy it every time. I do think that even if the game is garbage, people will still buy it. So half of this comment, I think is correct. But the game will be garbage. We don't know that yet. Again, this person's already made up their mind. They'll rush it and it will be garbage. Lucky modders can fix it, but my money is on them somehow making it difficult to mod or illegal to mod without them taking a payment. I don't think that this is true because they proved that they do still want to double down on mods, free mods and paid mods. And they proved that by updating the mod system, the mod storage on consoles actually this week or last week by the time you're watching this. And here are some good examples, in my opinion at the very least, of skepticism. So these people are not leaving a positive comment on my channel saying that Bethesda is awesome and the Elder Scrolls 6 is going to be the best game ever. They're still thinking that it's going towards the negative side, but they're at least explaining why. And they do seem like they have an open mind as to being convinced otherwise. So this person saying the current formula for BGS games is absurdly contradictory. It's a sandbox with a linear plot, NPCs protected by scripted immortality, and the player has no influence over any significant element of the game world. Furthermore, the game is rated PG-18 with dialogue and characters reminiscent of cartoons of 7-year-olds. If BGS doesn't break this mold, the Elder Scrolls 6 won't become the game of the generation, or maybe the Meerkat generation. I had Meerkats play Skyrim. I have no idea what he's talking about there, but hey, at least he provides some reasons as to why he doesn't like these games. But there is that openness there that they could break the mold and then it could become the game of the generation. Not saying it will, it probably won't, but there's openness there. This person says, I love RPGs as a genre, but Skyrim is to a lesser degree, even Oblivion, are so far removed from what I want from a real RPG that I would be lying if I said I cared. I will try and play the Elder Scrolls 6 when it releases in a decade, but I'm extremely doubtful that they will produce anything of note considering their continuous track record of poor technical implementation, poor writing, and dumbing down and removing depth and meaningful choices in favor of shallow player freedom. I don't really want to explain why I think this comment is not cynical because you can kind of see the point by now. But those are two good comments that really spark conversation. Even though I haven't replied to them and I don't fully agree with them necessarily, I still like those comments because it sparks conversation, which is what we're here to do. And the bigger problem about cynicism in general is that it's contagious. The internet rewards negativity in general. That's just the way it is. People are attracted to negativity in general. If you look at headlines of news stories or just like the most popular YouTube videos, the most popular YouTube essays on video games, those are going to be the most negative things. So in this video, I kind of wanted to express a little bit of my frustration around the discussions of video games, not only within the Bethesda world, but in general. It feels like everything is so negative nowadays. Everything is dismissed, and God forbid you're excited to see something because someone on the internet is just gonna like shit on you. I don't know. Is this video, am I wrong about this? I could be, I guess. So I'm open to discussion. Let me know in the comments what you think. Are you excited about the Elder Scrolls 6? Are you dismissing it completely? Do you think that I'm wrong in my arguments in this video? Because all I want to do at the end of the day is just play games, enjoy them, share them with you guys. And this video, I don't really want to like complain too much. I'm not angry or feeling any negativity right now. I just wanted to have a discussion. Just because why not? If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you enjoyed this video, unlike. So yeah, thank you very much for watching. If you want to see another video of mine, here you go. If you want to see another video of mine, here you go. We're in Riva Sandbox here. We play with sand, whatever the hell that means. And yeah, subscribe if you're not already. If you want to come for more Bethesda discussions. We're talking here about Elder Scrolls and Fallout mainly, but it could be any other thing. I don't know. I'm really bad at outros, so yeah, just click on one of those videos and leave me alone.